Hey, so I'm just going to be working on a couple of orders, getting them finished up. Got most of the work done. I'm finishing up the handles and we'll go from there. I can actually show them on Facebook because I'm not going to get banned on TikTok, but here's one. So this was a custom order here, just finishing up the handle on it. I still haven't done the polishing on it, but this was a gut hook. And then of course someone else ordered a shorter version of a Buck 1911. So this is Gunstock Walnut, and this is Purple Heart. So the Purple Heart looks grayish in the beginning, but after you finish it up, as it ages, it actually gets more and more purple. The same thing with Bacote. It doesn't get more purple, but it gets darker. Oh yeah, kitchen knife, yep. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Everything's rolling along. I gotta say, the TikTok thing, I did not expect it to blow up the way it did. And all of a sudden, so many orders. So I'm trying to keep up with y'all. I don't want to fall too far behind and have people waiting for too long. But, gosh, I went from like, yep, thank you, Jack. Yeah, I went like in a month to 100,000, and all the orders that just kept pouring in. I'm grateful, believe me, I'm grateful, because, if you watched my last video, you can tell I kind of need the money right now, but I'm not, I've seen some of the comments, go set up a GoFundMe. Not into charity. However, you want to pay for something, hell yeah. Rather work for my dollar. Not that the bills don't get paid around here anyway. I'm a disabled vet. I'm 90% disabled. So that alone pays all the bills. But for expenses and stuff, you always got to have just a little bit extra. Don't want to fall too far behind. Yeah, I'm still taking orders. All you got to do is drop a message on the Fire Monkey Forge where you're at right now. And it's gotten kind of busy, so my wife has to help out. We sit down in the morning over coffee, and then again right before bed with decaf coffee, and go over all the orders, get everything prioritized. But this Buck one was just the first one that came along and paid right away, so we wanted to get that done. And then, of course, this was really cool. This is actually the vision of a child that a father contacted me about, and they sent me a photo over the computer. This is the actual photo that I printed up. And so this was a wooden mock-up made by the son, and the dad wanted to bring it to life. And here it is, Purple Heart. And they were so excited seeing it on TikTok live that the father went ahead and ordered one, but he wanted leopard wood, which is this type of wood. It's got a spotted pattern, but it can vary greatly. So actually, let me dab it with some oil, and that'll bring out some of the character. There, if that makes it easier to see. It's got a spotted pattern, and it can really come out nice after a finish. Not with oil, of course. I wouldn't do that to someone else's knife unless they wanted it to be oil finished instead of polyurethane and stuff like that. Hey Cody, glad to see you. So for everyone that joined a little later on the live, I'm just working on the handle pieces for a couple of orders. I used to do this barehanded, but I've been doing it so much lately I had to get gloves because I sand right through the skin of my fingers, and you don't feel it at first, but then you'll start to bleed, and then it gets on the workpiece. So while it would be kind of interesting to be able to DNA authenticate every piece I've ever worked on, that's kind of gross. so I went ahead and got myself some gloves so I can keep your work pieces a little cleaner. So I'm just finishing up with 220 and then 400. There's a 400 grit. That gives me a nice smooth wood to work with for the finishing. A lot of the bigger smithies have machines to do this with, but I still have to go about it the old-fashioned way, because even though I've got a lot of the big expensive equipment, you know, I just don't have everything I'd like. But this lets me get a little more personal with every blade. I have to spend at least 6 man-hours with every. That kind of lets me give you all a personal touch. Do I go to Rendezvous? Oh yeah. My wife loves going to Rendezvous. I'm actually on the board for the Chippewa River Rendezvous. I've done Baraboo. Let's see, starting to get some of that character. This is Gunstock Walnut. I actually lucked out with the gunstocks. There was an auction, and about 70 years ago, a guy from Winchester got a hold of a bunch of culls for gun stocks that weren't going to make the grade. So I've got an entire box of, you know, 70, 80, 90, 80 or some odd year old walnut gun stocks that didn't make the cut for Winchester. And here's the thing. They still have the Winchester stamp on them, and people are freaking out on me. They're like, "You're chopping those up? They're worth so much as a collector item." Well, I make knives out of them, so. To my eye, I don't see what the problem is with them or why they were culled, but I'm not a gunsmith, so couldn't tell you exactly why they were culled. Can't wait to get one of your pieces and put it to use. Good. I'm glad you're going to put it to use, because that is the easiest way to hurt my feelings regarding my work. I mean, call it shit or whatever else, it's not going to bother me. Tell me that, ooh, I'm going to put that in the safe or on display and it's never going to get used. I'm always going to treasure this. No. I make these things to be used. I mean, I know it's corny and all, but when I think of these things out there getting used, it's almost like I'm out there on the trail with you, which is why I take it so personally when I put these things together, because if it ever fails you on the trail, that means I failed you. So I do try to put everything I can into every knife. When I first got started, see, I do test them, I bend them and everything in the vise to make sure they're not going to snap or bend. And when I first got started, I was breaking probably 1 in 7 until I refined my heat treat techniques. And now, if I'm extremely unlucky, I might break 1 in 50. But the fact that they still are, I mean, 1 in 50 is not a bad number, but I'd rather it break on me than y'all. Sad thing is they break around this point because I put it all together first and then I crank on it. These two have already gone through that and they're good to go. It's practically a finished product when I do that. Have I tried a draw shave tool for rounding my handles? No, because my handles have brass pins in them. So I can't do that without working around the pins. Now I do draw shave for, now don't take this the wrong way, because I don't do it right now, but I will when I get my press. But I do draw shave for stuff like this. I made this handle out of a oak pallet, so that's draw shaved. The head of the hatchet was not done by me. This was done by another smith, but it was a gift from one of my rendezvous buddies. His name's Channing. I'm actually friends with him on my Facebook page, but he goes by the camp name Gopher. For a proper style Nessmuck within what I like, you have the style. Yeah, I've got Nessmucks coming out my ears. I have a bunch of blanks. There we go. Come on now. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. You're being angry. Why are you angry? Don't be angry. Alright, we'll deal with you later. But yeah, I've got two sizes of Nessmuck. This is the smaller one, and then I've got a bigger one. The patterning is not Damascus. It's just overheated in the forge until it begins to flake, and then I quench. I normally grind this off, but some people like the patterning, and I'll leave it if they ask, but I prefer to grind it off and make it smooth, because for edge geometry and then for your cut, anything that whatever you're cutting can grab onto is going to give you resistance through the cut. So while it looks really cool, you're going to notice over time that it's just not as easy to work with. And that's the same thing for Damascus as well. People want Damascus kitchen knives and stuff like that. And unfortunately, Damascus, for a kitchen knife, if you do the acid etch and you get that beautiful patterning that people love, your food release suffers. So if you're trying to cut some really thin cucumbers, carrots, or tomatoes, watery vegetables, it's harder to do because the food won't release from the knife because of the texturing. However, if you have a really nice metal for Damascus and you work it up, you can actually see the pattern in a very, very subtle way. It just kind of shimmers in the light. And I love leaving them like that. They are beautiful when you leave them like that. All right, so you can see the wood character. Let me see if I can get any light here. You can see the wood characteristics for the gunstock walnut. This is a big fat handle because it's going to be a woodsy everyday carry, so they wanted to be able to stab with it as well as cut with it. And then this, I was tempted to alter the design on this one and bring the handle in a bit because this is a big beefy handle, but I didn't want to deviate from their vision. So I mean, this is a big beefy thing even in my hand. It's really filling my hand, so I'm kind of worried for a kid that it might be a little too much. But I mean, I haven't even put the edge on it and it's still it's already pretty good. The edge geometry on it's not going to be too bad. So father and son ought to be happy with it when it's done. Uh-oh. I hear someone trying to get in my shop. Hey, what's up, boy? Come on.
Is this gum?
Hmm?
Is this gum?
Yep.
Okay, may I have it?
Did you look for red dye? You make sure there's no red dye? You can read the
I
package.
just found this on the counter.
You found something on the counter? Well, it was in the house.
And it's blue and white. Looks like toothpaste.
Let me smell it. I just want to make sure. I'm not familiar with this dye, but... No, that's gum. Okay.
Can I have it?
Yeah, no problem. You would like to... So would that be a hunting style knife? Oh, the one I'm working on right now? I think so. It's got a gut hook on it. The father saw me working on the knife on TikTok and requested that I make him one too. So I gotta kind of bump him up in the queue because I want to save on shipping for them, because the box that they're going to go in is way more than big enough to fit 2 in there, and I don't want to double up on shipping. And it would be really cool if the father and son got their knives at the same time. So that's what I'd like to do. I mean, I know that it's going to push someone else's order back a day, but that's just one of those things where I think it's cool that a father and son are going to get the same knife at the same time. But the father chose leopard wood, the son wanted Purple Heart. Hey y'all. Sorry, it's not like glorious power tools running and everything. This is more of the fine tuning up at the finish. But sadly, it's these details that I'm putting on it right now that people notice more than anything else. They don't really notice all of the hammer work that goes into it. They don't really pay attention to the edge geometry and the perfectly beveled edges. But they do notice if your handle has a little knock in it somewhere. I used to do a lot of sheath work too, but I had to cut that out. I will work in Kydex now. The plastic stuff, I can make Kydex sheaths. They're really fast and much more cost effective than leather, because I can make a Kydex sheath for about $15 in material, whereas a leather sheath I'm gonna probably have to pay anywhere between $18 and $22 for a small amount of material. And it's a lot of work because I don't have a leather sewing machine, so I have to get that leather stitching all, and you got to work it through for each stitch. Pain in the butt. Now, fortunately, I'm working with Purple Heart and Walnut tonight, so those aren't necessarily toxic woods. I don't have to wear my respirator, but if I was working on something like Bubinga or Cocobolo, even Bacote, which is, by the way, one of my favorite woods to work with, it's probably smarter for me to wear a respirator. But these are low sensitivity woods, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Do I have a website? My wife actually is working on building a website right now. She sends some people there that are putting together orders to look at a few of the things that she's got on there. She's got things like handle materials, and then of course a few of the templates that are, that I can make really quick, like the Hondo Capers, the Nessmucks, the Texas Cleavers, all the stuff that I could crank out really quickly. Oops. But my heart is really in the custom orders, where I have to sit down and actually work with the customer, discover their vision, and get them exactly what they want. Those are what excites me and make it fun for me to keep going, because I could crank knives out all day and people would be happy enough with them. But being able to bring someone's vision to life, like this kid's knife, that's just cool. I was on TikTok the other day doing the exact same thing, working on a knife, but I was working on the blades at that point, and I hand sand the blades too. It takes forever. And I don't know why, but the TikTok algorithm detected a knife and gave me a warning pop up on the screen stating that I am engaged in a dangerous activity. Cease and desist or be banned. I'm just like, well, okay. Someone actually gave me a really good bit of advice. They said, angle your camera up and you can keep working without without getting in trouble. But of course, now all you can see is me like this high, and I'm doing this furiously. Didn't look right. Active duty Coast Guard and deploying next year. I was thinking of getting him something custom. Hey, hit me up. I love making stuff for my active duty brothers. I do a lot of orders for Marines as well. Just do me one small favor, and don't be like that guy that sent me a decommissioned machine gun barrel with the serial number still on it to make a knife out of. That's still government property, naughty. Found me from TikTok? Yep. Glad you're here. I actually have to start using my Instagram for the Fire Monkey Forge too, because the Instagram that I've got linked to my TikTok was started as part of my Aspiris Family Farm page, because my wife's dream in retirement was to run a farm, which means that my dream of owning a forge was reduced to running a farm with a forge on it. All steps are interesting. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I don't find it tedious or anything. Just very, very monotonous. But I find repetitive tasks to be a little bit soothing for me. It does wonders for my anxiety. Just lets me be physically active without having to engage the brain too much, and that helps me to stay calm. Y'all can talk to me. I stopped biting about a year after I retired. It's amazing what you can get away with in the military. Gotta say, the last 6 years of my career were probably the most fun, because after I graduated IDC school, which is kind of like where you become the highest you can possibly be as a corpsman. You're allowed to see your own patients, diagnose, treat, prescribe medications, and you don't have to work with a doctor except for peer review. And I was with the Marines for all of that time, and the Marines, they love a regular corpsman, but oh boy, do they like the big docs. They treated us like kings. It was so awesome. Oh yeah, I love doing this stuff, and being able to do it every day, it's nice. How long do you think it'll be before I have the material to make an axe? It's not about the material, although I don't have that on hand anyway. What I need in order to make a proper axe head, hammer, anything that I have to forge out of a solid brick, I need a press, because I have to drift out the hole. You start with a solid block of metal, and you actually have to punch the hole and then work through larger and larger bits of metal. And having a 22-ton shop press can really help with that, instead of me trying to beat it through by hand. And those things they're not really all that expensive. I could get a shop press with the hydraulic jack for probably $700, maybe. But, you know, if you've been watching my TikTok, $700 is going to be kind of hard to come by for a little bit, because gotta fix the shitter. Forge ASMR. Yeah, it does. There are certain parts of it that are very, very ASMR satisfying. Now, I do wear headphones, but when I'm working the handles and doing it on the belt sander, the wood shapes really easily. It's almost like carving styrofoam, and I love that. It's really relaxing. Unfortunately, you have to kind of stay in the moment there, because if you're not paying attention and you make a boo-boo on the belt sander while you're shaping your handles, that's it. You got to crack those handles off and start all over again. If you're lucky and you won't ruin the blade by doing it. So if you're working with something like Damascus, then you have to be really careful, because on top of that, you're working with a $300 in materials blade. That's why everyone that's asking for Damascus, I feel bad, because before everything blew up and I got all these orders, if someone wanted Damascus, I could do it, but it was still expensive. But I need more time to work on Damascus, because it's not that it's more delicate, it's that if you mess up something else in the process, the entire work suffers. So I try to be as attentive as possible with higher quality stuff, like I've worked with things like Mastodon ivory, pre-embargo ivory. What else was there? I've worked with Mastodon teeth, giraffe bone. Giraffe bone's actually not that rare, though. It's a pretty common material. You can get them for, I think, $130 for a set. Do I think something like a Santugo style with a red handle? Oh yeah, I can do that. Red handle, I'd probably have to stain it, because Red Heart, I do have Red Heart, and that's a really, really red wood, but it needs to be UV stabilized or it'll fade to a dull gray over time. But yeah, just hit up the Facebook Messenger and I can get you in the queue. Yep. Most interesting thing I've worked with? I made a TikTok about that. Human ashes. And it's not that they're rare or anything, it was just interesting. She wanted a shoto, small, like dagger style katana, and the ashes were mixed with a clay slurry and painted onto the blade prior to the quench, and they do that to get the differential hardening in, and it also creates something called a harmon, which is the line in the steel where you can see the properties of the steel change. There we are. So this is the Purple Heart. Come on, light. And when it's fresh, it's not very purple, but I've got a piece that I haven't touched in maybe 2 years, and it's been sitting in the sun, so it's had time to age up. Because Purple Heart, as it sits in the sun, becomes more and more purple. Well, you really can't tell in the camera, but this is a really vivid purple to the naked eye. So that's why I have to tell people that order the Purple Heart that, yes, I know what you saw, and even though the scales that I put on here are the ones that I showed you, unfortunately, they don't retain that color through the process, because once I work it, I work away that top layer that's oxidized and giving you that nice color. So, unfortunately, I have lost my buffer cloth. I need to polish the blade one last time with some 400 grit, and I have lost my buffer cloth. I'll just use my leftover tissues from back when the crotch goblins got me sick. It's the best way to sharpen a knife without a stone. Well, any knife sharpener would work. It's just, it depends on the knife and the metal it's made from. If it's Damascus, I would recommend not doing that. But for a regular kitchen knife, you can use just about anything. I mean, if your goal is just to make it sharp, but if you're looking to preserve the integrity of the blade, then a good stone is the best way to go about it. However, if you Google Edge Pro, just the words Edge Pro, they have a system that allows you to clamp your blade in place and sharpen it at precise angles, and you can take it all the way down to 7,000 grit, which is stupid sharp. Mirror finish, stupid sharp. And I actually have one of those. And for the really, really high-end custom orders, I still break that thing out. Because if you've paid me $1,200 to $6,000 for a blade, I am going to make it really, really over the top. Unfortunately, I just don't have time to work on blades like that right now, but those were fun. Making the big swords and stuff like that, but just don't have time. Sandpaper would work too. Donald, thank you. And now the thing is, if it's a really fancy knife and you're going to use a stone, you have to be careful too, because if you hold it at an improper angle, you're going to scratch your blade all up. And while it's not going to affect the overall integrity of the knife, it can make it ugly. But if that's not a concern, it really doesn't matter. My wife, when I first married my wife, I already had my Edge Pro, and I had been sharpening knives for a while. Knives have always been a lifelong fascination for me. But my wife was very used to having kitchen knives that she could cut carrots with, where she'd hold the knife and press the carrot against the knife. And of course, after we got married and moved in together, one of the first things I did was I sharpened all the knives. All of them. Every single one. And the very first time she tried to cut a carrot, we had to go to the ER and put her thumb back together. That blade went in there and kissed the bone. And she was livid, but I kind of had a leg to stand on with, it's a knife. It's supposed to be sharp. So I was allowed to keep all the knives in the house sharp except for one. She got to choose it. And she chose a little vegetable paring knife. All right, so this is practically done. I still have to run it on the polishing wheel to try and get it up a little bit, but I still need to put the coating on here to really bring it up, and that ought to do. But here it is. You got the gut hook in the back. And this isn't like your normal gut hook that only goes to one side. This is a 50-50 gut hook, so it meets right in the middle. And it even has a grab on it so that you can get in there before you hook the flesh, and it'll sit and slide just like a zipper. Get my boys in here. The oldest is 12, and the second oldest is 9. He doesn't really listen too good. And even though I've told him everything in here can kill you and it'll hurt the whole time you're dying, one of their favorite things to do is to sneak in here when I'm not here and then come find me and say, I went in your shop and didn't die. So it's kind of like, oh no, the shop didn't kill you, but come here, let me fix that. That's all I need. Just have an injury on top of everything else. So old dude's told it's not really yours till it cuts you. Yep. That's another thing I don't like. I try, like, I'm wearing gloves right now because normally I don't, but I've been getting such a high volume of orders lately that I can't do the hand sanding like I normally do because I wear the skin away, and I actually get down to the point where it bleeds. Now my hands, I don't feel very much, so I won't notice that I'm bleeding, and if I'm working with something like leopard wood or this gunstock walnut, blood will stain it. It won't hurt the Purple Heart or Bercote or some of the other oilier woods, but I don't want to stain the product with my leavings. And this time around, it doesn't take so long to do the final sanding. See, I was working on this buck knife for an hour and 15 minutes on a TikTok live the other night, doing the first hand sanding. But if you take enough time and you're really careful, then after the quench, you really won't have that much left to do to bring it back to where you need it to be. But it's mainly about getting everything on the blade going in the same direction. You want all of that, all of the scratch marks in the same direction, and that just helps the blade aesthetic. It also helps with edge geometry and with your cut. It takes less force because everything is oriented the same way, so it's not binding and pinching through a cut. Oh. Well, I'm glad you were there. Did you sit there through the whole thing? Because it can get a little painfully dull, I'm aware of that. See, that's the thing about working with blades. It's not, the vast majority of the process is not really that exciting. You know, you couldn't set it to action music and expect it to fit. Which is why I would love to see an unedited version of Forged in Fire. Because I guarantee you that the vast majority of what the judges are doing is sitting there staring at 4 butts while the guys are sitting there looking in their forge, waiting for the metal to get hot. Because that's what we do for most of the time. We sit there waiting. Oh, Big Mike. Yep, I remember you. Ouch. Using a fillet knife. Yeah, that'll do it. I haven't been able to make a good fillet knife because I don't have a heat treating oven. I have a toaster oven, which is good enough for these thick blades, but a fillet knife requires a precision heat treat because it's a very thin piece of metal, and you have to work with the exact right type of metal, and then you have to get the heat treat perfect because you have a knife that you need to be able to bend to 90 degrees almost daily, and it's got to be able to spring back and not break. And I need a knife kiln to do that, and I just don't have one. Hooey. Yay. So there's a buck 119 style. Here is a custom design from the mind of a child. I mean, that's not bad for a kid. He actually made a wooden mock-up of this, and that's the picture that they sent me, and that's what I've been working with. And now I need to go over there and make them pretty before I do the other stuff. Let's see. I've got y'all pegged in my Kydex riveter right now. So let's see if I can turn this puppy enough so you can see me over here. All right, let's see if you can see me. Can you see me? Hi. Okay. So now I've got to set my buffer wheel up. for a good long while, I was thinking that my buffer wheel had lost its damn mind. And I had the buffer wheel over here, the wire wheel over here, and it was just rattling. And it turns out that it was my wire wheel that was out of balance. And I never even thought about my wire wheel. I took the wire wheel off and this thing just hums again. So I need a new wire wheel. But this is the polishing wheel. It's just a 6-inch cotton wheel. Tighten you up. Nope. And everything, of course, has to be dead center. All right, let's see here. A little bit of polishing paste. And let's make them pretty. Alrighty. And now, minimize the video to check. Glad I'm not thinking. Alright, so now we're getting there. Now the next stop, these are polished to a satin finish now. But now the next stop is I've got to clamp these up and then I'm going to do the handles. So You know, they say the mark of an artist is a dirty workbench. Michelangelo. All right. Now. Oh. Gotta get a clamp. Right back over there. Yeah. Two clamps. Okay. Wanted to do this in a way that would leave them high enough for you guys to see, but still give me the clamping that I needed. There we go. Maybe, woohoo! Yeah! Yeah, about to change my religion. All right. Uh-oh, I hear my wife yelling. She's home! All right, get that done for a second. I would rather use C-clamps. Let me, oh, she's coming in. I must have made a boo-boo. This is Facebook Live, not TikTok, so you can come on in here.
Oh, somebody was asking about red handles.
Red handles? I can do red handles,
They said
but
they
it's going to be stained.
Why? What's wrong with blood red?
Oh, you want the bloodwood? I can do the bloodwood, but that's going to cost an extra, like, $20, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's up to them.
Oh, if you're on, I can order in something called bloodwood, which is nice and red, but it would be cheaper for me to stain it for you. I can save you a few bucks, but if you want bloodwood, I will do whatever you want if you're here.
I found scales for $10 for shipping.
Oh, nice.
Telling you, Etsy. Remember you used to make the scales and sell them?
Yeah, when I was right next to an exotic wood.
Yeah, some of these people are from North Carolina.
I figured that's what's going on. Those are nice. That's the wife. You want to see the boss? This is the boss lady. When I say message me on Facebook, she's the boss. She has to do all the computer stuff because I don't get along with computers. Very non-simpatico. She's the one who got us into rendezvousing. And those are some more wooden bowls that she just picked up so that we can rendezvous. You want to do the bloodwood? Okay, he wants the bloodwood.
All right.
All right. Just make sure you communicate that on Facebook, because what we do is we've got something called a Trello board, and it can be updated, and she updates it, I see it, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, I have the chat open.
Oh. See? Not only... Oh. I got a long-ass name, so if she ever used my full name,
What?
it'd be a bad day. My full name, they say I'm only in trouble if you use my full name, and if you ever came in here saying Mark Nathan Dufresne Aspiris, I'm moving out.
That's your mom's job.
For the caper? What handle is on what? This is Purple Heart. This is the Gunstock Walnut.
The lighting's not the best.
I had this light, but the batteries are dying. I'm going to have to...
Don't you have another shop light?
Somewhere.
Hang it up over there.
Oh, wait, yeah, I've got...
Hey, what about that?
It's a halogen light. Oh, that one? I suppose I could use that one right now. Hold on. I do have... My primary light right above me
Oh, that
is
did
all
that.
but dead, but I do have another one right here.
Does that make a difference? A little bit.
Let me put it over. Does that make a difference?
A little bit.
A little bit. There we go. So now... Oh, it's you? John De La Rosa. This must be him. The one who... This is the wood mock-up that I ended up using. We're going to combine shipping on... if this is you. We're going to combine shipping on these. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm going to cut yours out and finish it all up. and we're gonna send these out together because I want to save you on shipping. You know, anywhere we can cut a corner and nickel and dime it, we'll do that. All right, sweetie, I love you, and I'll be in a minute because once I do this, I can't stir up dust in here.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have any more messages, so.
Oh, nice. So we can just have coffee and chill?
Yes.
Ooh, nice. Coffee and chill. All right, so here we go. We're about to brush on, let's see. We've got pecan semi-gloss. There we go. I prefer the semi-gloss because it it hides blemishes better. I can do the really, really high gloss, but then it just isn't the same. Real good. All right, and then gotta bust out the frog tape because it doesn't matter how careful I am, I always end up with a drip or two. So this lets me just work with the inevitable. I hear her yelling again. Kids must have. You done goofed. Sorry guys, I know this is the absolute pinnacle of excitement. There we go. And And I've worked with other tapes, but I just, I prefer frog tape because it has never gotten gooey on me and left a residue. So that, I don't cut corners on my masking tape. So I'm frog tape all the way. Oh no, Miss Tara. I get those crazy ones all the time. They're normally for witchcraft, and I'm selective about which ones I make light of. I really don't want to be working one day and have my dick drop off because someone hexed me or something. I need a... There we are. These are my preferred applicators for urethane, stain, and everything else, but I only get one use out of them, so that does get a little costly. No joke, loving... Oh. Well, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Let's see, I hope that we can get a good showing here on the change, because the change, when I put the stuff on, it really brings out the grain, especially on the gunstock walnut. You're going to see a huge change in the all right, is it just me, or does some urethane just smell kind of like banana? Not if you get too close, but I always get that that feeling like I'm about to eat a banana whenever I smell fresh urethane. All right, we'll start over here so y'all can see. Can you see? I'll give you some ASMR. Trying to keep my hand out of the way. See that character coming out? And that is why I would rather work with the gunstock walnut than just have take a spoonful, tell you what it tastes like. No, I know what it tastes like. I used to be a furniture finisher for my very first job back in 1995. Yeah. And I didn't get my first job until I was 17. So, anyway, here's the Purple Heart. See that change and the detail coming out on that? My wife always yells at me because I only ever do 2 knives at a time. She's like, it's inefficient. Your process could be so much quicker if you just worked in batches. But if I did that, I could not give the same attention to detail to every single knife. And I am very much about that. Because if a little flaw bothers me, I can only imagine how much it would bother someone else that actually had to use the knife every day. Do I engrave? I don't have a laser engraver, but if it is within the scope of the local engraving shop, I've got one within 20 miles of me, I can take it to them. Engraving is costly though. On average, you're looking at about $30 for something intricate. For something simple like initials, we can normally get it done for about $15. But if you want fancy stuff, that costs more. And until I get my laser engraver, that's just going to have to be a sad reality of the business aspect. There we are. You guys feeling pretty now? All right, and then I go back and make sure there's no runs, no bubbles. All back. Now, my wife also hates this. Whenever I need something, like a wooden mallet, I will literally walk into the forestry, and this is oak. I cut from a dead oak tree. And she's all about efficiency. So she's kind of the yin to my yang. And she'll be like, for $4 you could have gone to the hardware store. Instead, you went and spent an entire afternoon in the forestry and wasted all that time when you could have been working on knives. And well, if I like the tools, then I'm going to like working more, right? Oh, awesome. Here, let me get you a little closer here. So this is the other side of it. All right, let me flip the camera so that I can... There we go. Let's see if we can get a good zoom in. Sorry for the grainy quality, but it is kind of dark in here. So the 3-pin design. Big, fat, full tangs on both of them. And then there's the gun stock walnut. Let me back up a bit and see if I can get in there. Come on, give me the character. That deep character. There we are. It just has that deep marble character. Now this Purple Heart is going to color up as it ages. So, you know, don't be all worried about that. As he uses it, as it sits in the sunlight, it's going to continue to deepen. I use a lacquer that does not have a UV stabilizer in it, especially for this, because the gunstock walnut is going to deepen over time as well. But I hope your son has big hands, because this is a big, meaty handle. I did not want to deviate from your vision, so I did not take it in. So it's a big beefy handle. It's a hand filler, but it's also a big beefy blade. And I took it outside to make sure that it would chop just fine before I polished it. And it went through 3 coconuts just fine. Yeah, I needed coconuts for a recipe. I'm not Polynesian, but I am Asian, so I've got that coconut shredding machine where you sit down and it's got that weird, looks like a spur, and you just shred it all out. So I do a lot of cooking. But yeah, this is going to hold up just fine to abuse. So I wanted to make sure of that. But I am going to do yours of this tomorrow. And I mean, I'm not going to get all the way done, but I should get up to the point where I glue the handle scales on, if I can stay in here all day. And then we can get those out together at the same time. They do need to sit after they get their urethane coating for 48 hours so that the urethane cures. Because if you ship it too soon, I found this out the hard way. If you ship it too soon after applying the urethane, it might look and feel fine, but if something sits in contact with it for hours, it can slowly tack into it. So I want it to be cured there. That way you get because they're practically dry to the touch now. So it's very deceptive. So they're dry to the touch now, but if I were to wrap them in anything, it would stick like glue. But here is where they're going to sit all night long. The clamp is sturdy. These aren't going anywhere. But guys, thank you so much for being here and watching. I'll probably go live here more often than on TikTok for 2 reasons. 1, I can actually show the knives without getting in trouble. And 2, you can't throw money at me for just sitting here talking to you. I feel guilty when people are just throwing those TikTok gifts at me because all I'm doing is sitting here talking to you. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a knife maker. So, again, God bless. Thank you for sitting with me, and I hope you have a great evening.